What is up, you guys? Today, I just got back from seeing Scream 7. And before we get into the video, obviously, there's a lot of controversy with this movie. I talked about it all in my Scream ranking before seeing Scream 7. So go check that out and see my thoughts, obviously, on all the controversy. You guys know how I feel about it. I think it kind of sucks what happened behind the scenes of this film. But, I'm a big Scream fan, big Ghostface fan. So I wanted to go into this movie as a Scream fan, going into it blindly, going from Scream 6 to Scream 7, seeing how this movie carries into the franchise. I'm going to keep this obviously spoiler free. You got the cup and bucket here, which I think is awesome. I really like this cup here of Ghostface. I got these at Cinemark. And then we got the bucket here. I think it's a really cool display. It's a little difficult to eat popcorn out of. I took a picture of me eating popcorn out of it. But getting into the film now, I went into this movie excited. I was I like the Scream movie, so I was very excited to see where this was going, but obviously I was nervous. There wasn't a lot of marketing. The only marketing we saw was one trailer, really, that showed a lot of what happens in the intro of this film, for example. And all the reviews that I was seeing before seeing this movie, which was literally only 2 days before seeing the movie, was all negative. So I was a little nervous, hesitant, but I got into the theater. The theater, from my screening at least, was so packed and full of Scream fans. Everyone was so excited. It honestly felt like the opening to Scream 2, where everyone was in a Ghostface mask and waiting to watch Stab. That's how it felt watching this movie. So the energy was there. I was really excited to see this. Now, sitting down and watching it, I don't know, I have mixed feelings. Getting into my positives, I'll start with that. I think the opening sequence to this is a great opening sequence. The first 15 to 25 minutes, let's say, is really good. I wish that in the trailer we didn't get to see as much as they show, because there is some shocking things in here. And honestly, I will say right here, this is going to be a negative, but these two characters in the opening sequence of the film are the most sincere characters within the film. Those are the characters that I care about the most. And it kind of sucks because they're only in it for the first 15 minutes. But it felt such like a Scream movie. It had that Scream energy to it. There was so much going on with the cinematography with Ghostface, him hiding in the shadows, coming out, was awesome. It looks great. Him burning everything down, Ghostface burning everything. It was really cool. And right off the bat, the sequences within here with the gore and the kills were insane. The kills in this movie, probably the most graphic we've seen in the Scream franchise. I'm trying to think of everything. I think it honestly is probably the most graphic kills we've seen in the Scream movies. The only issue I have with the gore and the kills is it's extremely CGI heavy. There's one kill in here that just feels like a Final Destination kill. The way that you kind of just see the CGI effects, and I'm just oh, okay, that kind of throws me off a little bit. But for the most part, they're extremely graphic, and I'm whoa, this is crazy. Which is also a little crazy because the whole behind-the-scenes crew and stuff, I think the director of this film was saying how Scream 6 was extremely graphic and extremely bloody, and they didn't really need that. This was probably the most graphic Scream movie I've ever seen. This was actually gruesome to watch. So I don't really know what they were talking about with Scream 6, that's not that as bloody as this movie is. There was a few meta things in this film, which I was nervous that they were going to get rid of the meta jokes, because that's honestly my only criticism with Scream 6, is I feel like it wasn't meta enough. It just felt like extreme horror. It just felt like a generic horror movie, which I still love Scream 6. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It didn't feel like it had a lot of meta stuff going for it. It didn't really feel that way. And I was scared that this movie did go in that direction, which I will say I think it definitely did. It feels more of a soap opera movie rather than a movie to make fun of horror movies, or a movie to be meta about horror movies. There are a few things in here where they talk about nostalgia and bringing back characters, or having the main lead, such as Sidney Prescott, be Sidney Prescott, but not her present day self, but her old day self. And honestly, that was one scene of the film where I was yeah, that's how this whole movie feels. This whole movie just feels like it's the writer, which is obviously Kevin Williams, I believe that's his name is. I could be wrong on that. Wrote this movie with the intention of being nostalgic baited. And it honestly feels like there was moments in here where, I guess I'm going to talk about that in negatives, but it felt like a generic Marvel movie where they just throw things in your face and jingle keys in your face and go remember that? Remember that? That's from the first movie. Remember that? That's from the third movie. Scream 3? Scream 3. Another positive I have here real quick is I think Ghostface looks great in this movie. This is honestly the best we've seen Ghostface on screen. I think he looks fantastic. The way they kind of move him around in the shadows was really good. They really do that in the opening sequence. I feel like throughout the movie they kind of lose that as the movie goes on, especially towards like the middle half, towards the end. It goes off the rails like terrible. But for the majority first part of the film, they use Ghostface in really cool ways, his mask in the shadows. It works really well. Now, getting into my negatives here, even though Ghostface looked great, right? The reveal of who the killer is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It honestly reminded me of the Hard Eyes reveal. If you guys remember that movie, Hard Eyes, where that reveal was so lackluster. And that's how it reminded me for this. I was like, what are we doing? This is awful. Like, it literally got me so angry that I threw my hands in the air. I'm like, why? Like, what are we doing? And I'm gonna keep this spoiler free, but the way that they bring back Stu Monger and stuff, which I think it's very clear how they do it, everyone kind of already knows it, is so idiotic. Like, I was like, this is so stupid. And it just felt like they were, again, jingling keys in your face. Like, oh, Stu, remember him? Yeah. Is he dead? Is he alive? I love Matthew Lillard. I think he's fantastic in Scream 1. I think he's fantastic in the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. I think he's great in everything he's in. But this was so just like random. Like, it made no sense. I was like, this is so stupid. There's literally no reason to have this, especially for if they did it the right way, the motive behind the killer and what they were thinking, what they were going through. Literally everything that happens with Stu Monger is said in one line and makes no sense to the plot, makes no sense to the motive of the killers, has no, it's just there just to be nostalgic and just to be there and to jingle keys in your face. And that's what I very much disliked about this movie. Like, the character decisions that characters would make were so idiotic. Like, like the iconic shoot them in the head. You got to make sure that they're dead. Shoot them in the head. They said that line like 8 times in the movie, probably like 3 at most, but it felt like they said that so many times, and the plot would just carry on, and it would be like, you guys could have ended this movie in 5 seconds. There were so many times that I was like, you could have ended this movie. Talking about jingling keys in your face, Gale Weathers, what are you doing here? Just except to be here the whole time. Like, I don't understand. She gets here randomly in this movie, and they don't explain how she got there, why she's there. She's just there, and I'm just like, what? You're only here just to be here, and I'm not a fan of that. When someone's there just to be there, it's kind of stupid for me. I feel like they need to be explained, and that's why I think the killers in this movie are one of the worst reveals of all time. Even with it being one of the best Ghostface on screen, this is the worst reveals of who the Ghostface killers are. There was honestly so many points in this movie that made me so angry and upset that I was trying to enjoy this movie. But there was just things that were like going on that I was like, why is this happening? And like, there was things that I'm like, for example, one thing that I didn't necessarily love was Sydney and her daughter's relationship. I know that's what a lot of people are saying that they do like about the movie. I gotta say, I don't think I necessarily like that. I think it kind of made the movie, it just felt weird. Like, it felt generic. There was no diving deep into it. Like, if they actually explored the relationship between the mother and daughter relationship, they don't. They kind of just say one thing over and over, and it's like, "What's your backstory?" "Oh, I don't want to share that. I don't want to share that." "Oh, tell me your backstory." "I don't want to share that with you. You're young. You're my daughter." Up until the end, where there's like 2 lines of dialogue, and then that's it. And that's the whole mother-daughter exploration, and it was really boring to me. Like, I didn't care for that. But there was lines where like they would be in the middle of fighting Ghostface, and then they would pause and be like, "Hey, you're a good mom." And I'm like, we don't need to talk about that right now. Like, I love my mom, but if me and her were dealing with a killer, I would be cursing, saying, "Get the effing knife and like go after him." Like, what are we doing here? Scream, it's becoming a generic horror movie. It's not becoming the same franchise it once was, and I think that's the problem with it. It's losing its meta horrorness, and it's making generic horror slot fest, and I don't like that. So my overall thoughts right here, I'm going with an overall score of a 50 out of 100. Honestly, it could go lower. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10 because I am kind of neutral on it because the opening sequence was fantastic. The opening was great. The ending was awful. The way that this movie, it starts so good, and then it honestly progressively gets worse and worse because there is a mystery behind this, especially with Stu Monger. And it did leave me questioning. I was like, okay, I wonder what's happening here. I wonder what's happening here. And then there's a point in the movie where I'm like, oh, that's what's happening. This sucks. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Scream 7. Let me know in the comments below. Is it good? Is it bad? I think that it's still probably an enjoyable watch, but I'm not picking this Scream movie. This is probably my least favorite Scream movie. I gotta imagine it's most people's least favorite Scream movie. It feels so random. Going from Scream 6 to this just feels so random. It makes no sense. There's no correlation between Scream 6 and Scream 7, except for the fact that we are now going through Sydney's perspective because she wasn't in Scream 6. And that's another thing that I know I'm going on and on. I just said in my review, but they keep saying like, "Oh, Sydney, why weren't you in New York? Why weren't you in New York?" And she's like, "I didn't want to be involved." Literally, we look alike. Sydney doesn't even have blue eyes. Even the poster's bad. Alright, enough trash in this movie. What did you guys think? But thank you so much for watching today's video, guys. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to see future videos like this, make sure you ring the bell in the description down below. With all that being said, movie nerd out. Peace.